The Desert Christian, Sayings of the Desert Fathers, the Alphabetical Collection, Section Alpha. Anthony the Great. Anthony the Great, called the Father of Monks, was born in Central Egypt about A.D. 251, the son of peasant farmers who were Christian. In 269 he heard the gospel read in a church and applied to himself the words, "Go, sell all that you have and give to the poor and come." He devoted himself to a life of asceticism under the guidance of a recluse near his village. In 285 he went alone into the desert to live in complete solitude. His reputation attracted followers who settled near him, and in 305 he came out of his hermitage in order to act as their spiritual father. 5 years later he again retired into solitude. He visited Alexandria at least twice, once during the persecution of Christians and again to support the bishop Athanasius against heresy. He died at the age of 105. His life was written by St. Athanasius and was very influential in spreading the ideals of monasticism throughout the Christian world. 1. When the holy Abba Anthony lived in the desert, he was beset by Accidiae and attacked by many sinful thoughts. He said to God, "Lord, I want to be saved, but these thoughts do not leave me alone. What shall I do in my affliction? How can I be saved?" A short while afterwards, when he got up to go out, Anthony saw a man like himself sitting at his work, getting up from his work to pray, then sitting down and plaiting a rope, then getting up again to pray. It was an angel of the Lord sent to correct and reassure him. He heard the angel saying to him, "Do this and you will be saved." At these words, Anthony was filled with joy and courage. He did this and was saved. When the same Abba Anthony thought about the depth of the judgments of God, he asked, "Lord, how is it that some die when they are young, while others drag on to extreme old age? Why are there those who are poor and those who are rich? Why do wicked men prosper, and why are the just in need?" He heard a voice answering him, "Anthony, keep your attention on yourself. These things are according to the judgment of God, and it is not your advantage to know anything about them." Always have God before your eyes, whatever you do. Do it according to the testimony of the Holy Scriptures. In whatever places you live, do not easily leave it. Keep these 3 precepts and you will be saved. 4. Abba Anthony said to Abba Poemen, "This is the great work of man, always to take the blame for his own sins before God, and to expect temptation to his last breath." 5. He also said, "Whoever has not experienced temptation cannot enter into the kingdom of heaven." He even added, "Without temptation no one can be saved." 6. Abba Pombo asked Abba Anthony, "What ought I do?" And the old man said to him, "Do not trust in your own righteousness. Do not worry about the past, but control your tongue and your stomach." 7. Abba Anthony said, "I saw the snares that the enemy spreads out over the world, and I was groaning, what can get through such snares? Then I heard a voice saying to me, humility." He also said, "Some have afflicted their bodies by asceticism, but they lack discernment, and so they are far from God." 9. He also said, "Our life and our death is with our neighbor. If we gain our brother, we have gained God. But if we scandalize our brother, we have sinned against Christ." 10. He also said, "Just as fish die if they stay too long out of the water, so the monks who loiter outside their cells or pass time with men of the world lose the intensity of inner peace. So like a fish going towards the sea, we must hurry to reach our cell, for fear that if we delay outside we will lose our interior watchfulness." 11. He also said, "He who wishes to live in solitude in the desert is delivered from 3 conflicts, hearing, speech, and sight. There is only one conflict for him, and that is with fornication." 12. Some brothers came to find Abba Anthony to tell him about the visions they were having, and to find out from him if they were true or if they had come from the demons. They had a donkey which died on the way. When they reached the place where the old man was, he said to them before they could ask him anything, "How was it that the little donkey died on the way here?" They said, "How do you know about that, Father?" And he told them, "The demons showed me what had happened." So they said, "That was what we came to question you about, for fear that we were being deceived, for we have visions which often turn out to be true." Thus the old man convinced them by the example of the donkey that their visions came from the demons. 13. A hunter in the desert saw Abba Anthony enjoying himself with the brethren, and he was shocked. Wanting to show him that it was necessary sometimes to meet the needs of the brethren, the old man said to him, "Put an arrow in your bow and shoot it." So he did. The old man then said, "Shoot another," and he did so. Then the old man said, "Shoot yet again," and the hunter replied, "If I bend my bow so much, I will break it." Then the old man said to him, "It is the same with the work of God. If we stretch the brethren beyond measure, they will soon break. Sometimes it is necessary to come down to meet their needs." When he heard these words, the hunter was pierced by compunction and greatly edified by the old man, and he went away. And as for the brethren, they went home strengthened. 14. Abba Anthony heard of a very young monk who had performed a miracle on the road. Seeing the old man walking with difficulty along the road, he ordered the wild asses to come and carry them until they reached Abba Anthony. Those whom they had carried told Abba Anthony about it. He said to them, "This monk seems to me to be a ship loaded with goods, but I do not know if he will reach harbor." After a while, Anthony suddenly began to weep and to tear his hair and lament. His disciples said to him, "Why are you weeping, Father?" And the old man replied, "A great pillar of the church has just fallen." He meant the young monk. "But go to him and see what has happened." So the disciples went and found the monk sitting on a mat and weeping for the sin that he had committed. Seeing the disciples of the old man, he said, "Tell the old man to pray to God that I will have just 10 days, and I hope I will have made satisfaction." But in the space of 5 days he died. 15. The brothers praised a monk before Abba Anthony. When the monk came to see him, Anthony wanted to know how he could bear insults, and seeing that he could not bear them at all, he said to him, "You are like a village magnificently decorated on the outside, but destroyed from within by robbers." 16. A brother said to Abba Anthony, "Pray for me." The old man said to him, "I will have no mercy upon you, nor will God have any, if you yourself do not make an effort, and if you do not pray to God." 17. One day some old men came to see Abba Anthony. In the midst of them was Abba Joseph. Wanting to test them, the old man suggested a test from Scripture, and beginning with the youngest, he asked them what it meant. Each gave his opinion as he was able. But to each one the old man said, "You have not understood it." Last of all he said to Abba Joseph, "How would you explain this saying?" And Abba Joseph replied, "I do not know." Then Abba Anthony said, "Indeed, Abba Joseph has found the way, for he has said, 'I do not know.'" 18. Some brothers were coming from Scetis to see Abba Anthony. When they were getting into a boat to go there, they found an old man who also wanted to go there. The brothers did not know him. They sat in the boat, occupied by turns with the words of the fathers, Scripture, and their manual work. As for the old man, he remained silent. When they arrived on shore, they found that the old man was going to the cell of Abba Anthony too. When they reached the place, Anthony said to them, "You found this old man a good companion for the journey?" Then he said to the old man, "You have brought many good brethren with you, Father." The old man said, "No doubt they are good, but they do not have a door to their house, and anyone who wishes can enter the stable and loose the ass." He meant that the brethren said whatever came into their mouths. 19. The brethren came to Abba Anthony and said to him, "Speak a word. How are we to be saved?" The old man said to them, "You have heard the Scriptures. That should teach you how." But they said, "We want to hear from you too, Father." Then the old man said to them, "The gospel says, 'If anyone strikes you on one cheek, turn to him the other.'" They said, "We cannot do that." The old man said, "If you cannot offer the other cheek, at least allow one cheek to be struck." "We cannot do that either," they said. So he said, "If you are not able to do that, do not return evil for evil." And they said, "We cannot do that either." Then the old man said to his disciple, "Prepare a little brew of corn for these invalids. If you cannot do this or that, what can I do for you? What you need is prayers." A brother renounced the world and gave his goods to the poor, but he kept back a little for his personal expenses. He went to see Abba Anthony. When he told him this, the old man said to him, "If you want to be a monk, go into the village, buy some meat, cover your naked body with it, and come here like that." The brother did so, and the dogs and the birds tore at his flesh. When he came back, the old man asked whether he had followed his advice. He showed him his wounded body, and St. Anthony said, "Those who renounce the world but want to keep something for themselves are torn in this way by the demons who make war on them." 21. It happened one day that one of the brethren in the monastery of Abba Elias was tempted. Cast out of the monastery, he went over the mountains to Abba Anthony. The brother lived near him for a while, and then Anthony sent him back to the monastery from which he had been expelled. When the brothers saw him, they cast him out yet again, and he went back to Abba Anthony, saying, "My father, they will not receive me." Then the old man sent them a message, saying, "A boat was shipwrecked at sea and lost its cargo. With great difficulty it reached the shore, but you want to throw it into the sea, that which has found a safe harbor on the shore." When the brothers understood that it was Abba Anthony who had sent them this monk, they received him at once. 22. Abba Anthony said, "I believe that the body possesses a natural movement to which it is adapted, but which it cannot follow without the consent of the soul. It only signifies in the body a movement without passion. There is another movement which comes from the nourishment and warming of the body by eating and drinking, and this causes the heat of the blood to stir up the body to work. That is why the apostle said, 'Do not get drunk with wine, for that is debauchery.' And in the gospel the Lord also recommends this to his disciples, 'Take heed to yourselves, lest your hearts be weighed down with dissipation and drunkenness.' But there is yet another movement which affects those who fight, and that comes from the wiles and jealousy of the demons. You must understand what these three bodily movements are. One is natural, one comes from too much to eat, the third is caused by the demons." He also said, "God does not allow the same warfare and temptations to this generation as he did formerly, for men are weaker now and cannot bear so much." 24. It was revealed to Abba Anthony in his desert that there was one who was his equal in the city. He was a doctor by profession, and whatever he had beyond his needs he gave to the poor, and every day he sang in the Sanctus with the angels. 25. Abba Anthony said, "A time is coming when men will go mad, and when they see someone who is not mad, they will attack him, saying, 'You are mad, you are not like us.'" 26. The brethren came to Abba Anthony and laid before him a passage from Leviticus. The old man went out into the desert, secretly followed by Abba Amenas, who knew that this was his custom. Abba Anthony went a long way off and stood there praying, crying in a loud voice, "God, send Moses to make me understand this saying." There came a voice speaking with him. Abba Amenas said that although he heard this voice speaking with him, he could not understand what it said. 27. 3 fathers used to go and visit Abba Anthony every year, and 2 of them used to discuss their thoughts of the salvation of their souls with him, but the third always remained silent and did not ask him anything. After a long time, Abba Anthony said to him, "You often come here to see me, but you never ask me anything." And the other replied, "It is enough for me to see you, Father." 28. They said that a certain old man asked God to let him see the fathers, and he saw them all except Abba Anthony. So he asked his guide, "Where is Abba Anthony?" And he told him in reply that in the place where God is, there Anthony would be. 29. A brother in a monastery was falsely accused of fornication, and he arose and went to Abba Anthony. The brethren also came from the monastery to correct him and bring him back. They set about proving that he had done this thing, but he defended himself and denied that he had done anything of the kind. Now Abba Paphnutius, who is called Cephalus, happened to be there and told them this parable. "I have seen a man on the bank of the river buried up to his knees in mud, and some men came to give him a hand to help him out, but they pushed him further in up to his neck.